two undefeated side in the ICC Men's World T20 will contest tomorrow's final down the road at Kensington Oval. South Africa, who brushed Afghanistan aside, and India, of course, who annihilated England yesterday in Guyana. I've got three former England captains alongside me. Let's deal with a fast turnaround first, because South Africa were delayed because Barbados Airport was shut. Not sure what time they got in yesterday. We were on India's charter flight from Guyana, and we landed at midnight, and tomorrow they've got to contest a final. That's not easy. No,
far from easy. And again, the energy that you spend throughout the course of the World Cup, both mentally and physically, is completely draining. So when it gets to the latter stages, you want things to go as smoothly as possible. I was thinking about this while I was on the flight, actually, yesterday. The Indian side, and the guys who have played IPL in particular, will be used to things like that. There are so many variables. When you have a quick turnaround, you might play 3 games in 5 days and dotted around the 4 corners of India. So IPL players will be used to it. It'll be interesting to see how South Africa deal with it, because they had quite a light workload in the semi-final against Afghanistan, and therefore should be a little bit more fresher. However, India, I think, will be immune to it. Well, let's deal with India first. I mean, they were mighty impressive yesterday. It looks like they've got all bases covered for all conditions.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, oh, India just won yesterday because of the conditions. And the conditions obviously suited them. But the previous game, they were playing in St Lucia on a bouncier pitch, a pitch with pace on, against Australia, who love those conditions. And yet India, because of their batting lineup, because of the way Rohit plays slightly bouncier ball, you know, he pulls it perfectly, and the innings he played, and the pace attack they have, and the spinners they have, they do have every base covered. So the advantage they have slightly is that they've played a game here in the tournament. South Africa haven't. They're well led, but I think South Africa also at a different level, as in Eoin Morgan is starting his way in international cricket as a captain. Rohit Sharma's been there, done it. South Africa have got that monkey off their back. 7 semi-finals in World Cups they've lost. So almost the pressure, if it can be off, I mean, Eoin will tell us differently, but if it can be slightly off them, the pressure now shifts on to India. They've not won it for a very long time. That for the resources they have and the players they have, they feel that it's about time to win it, and all of India will be expecting them to win it.
And we saw in the 50-over World Cup that they went through to the final undefeated, brushing everyone aside. They couldn't deliver in that key moment. Nasser's point is very valid. 2011, that's not good enough for an Indian side with that much talent.
That much talent and the resource strength that they have, both of population and financial resources as well. So they did win the Champions Trophy in 2013, but it's more than a decade ago now that they've lifted an ICC event, and they come to each of these global events with a massive level of expectation, both an internal one and external as well, from all their supporters. There are going to be many more Indian supporters here, by the way, than South Africans, because we saw in the airport, even last night at gone midnight, they were flooding into Barbados. So it's going to be a good occasion. The best 2 teams are here without a question, so it should be a cracking final. I hope there's a pitch with pace. I agree that you just can't say India beat England because of the conditions, but I do think on a slow, low-holding pitch, they'll be much stronger favourites against South Africa. If the pitch goes through, as it can do at Kensington here, then South Africa's pace battery comes into it, and it's a significant pace battery. We saw against Afghanistan in that semi-final, Janssen, Rabada, Norkia. If there's a bit in the pitch, they're dangerous.
What about the tactical battle between the 2 captains? Coming into a final, and the pressure, the expectation, the messaging that you want to give to your team? Yeah, here it has to be clear and concise and unwavering on a day like a World Cup final. And I think it's a huge day for both captains. Yes, Nasser alluded to one being at a very experienced level, and Eoin Morgan the other just starting out. But the challenges on a day like that still remain the same. All experience does is better equip you to overcome those challenges. And Rohit Sharma, who has been there before, knows in finals and semi-finals the weight of every decision, the risk that you take on is far more, because the consequence is far more. I just believe that going into a game like this, there's a certain amount of unpredictability in finals, but I do think India will be better equipped to adapt to having been there before, regardless whether they've won or not, regardless of whether they've performed under pressure or not. They are better equipped to apply pressure to South Africa. Was there one little chink in the batting of India yesterday where they got a little bit lucky to start with? There were some very ungainly hacks from someone like Rohit Sharma, who is one of, if not the most elegant batsman in the world. the pressure, they didn't know what a good score was. Is that some area that South Africa could target them?
Yeah, I don't know whether it was the pressure yesterday. I just don't think it was a very easy pitch to time the ball on at the start. And as you say, a couple of leading edges fell over the infield. In fact, I did the interview with Rohit after the game, and he said at that stage they were thinking about 140 as a pass score, and then gradually he and Sky got that partnership going, and that kind of pass score lifted upwards, and they probably got 20 too many in the end. But the top of the order, it's not gone completely smoothly for India. Virat Kohli's been very short of runs. He is a class player, obviously. They're going to stick with him and going to back him, but he hasn't been firing. But that can be said of South Africa as well, and both these teams actually played 3 or 4 games in New York at the start of the group stages on the pitch that was the most up and down of them all. And I think that consequence has played out in the Super 8s a little bit, that none of the top order batters are in absolutely prime nick.
I'm going to give you the clickbait one about Virat Kohli, because I know you love a bit of clickbait.
Well, Ath said he'd leave him out for the final. I'd play him, definitely.
Oh, breaking news, you're going to play Virat Kohli. But big game, big player.
Absolutely. I mean, you go back to the game against Pakistan at the MCG when India were floundering. Who was there at the end, smashing? That's the biggest game of all time for Indians, India-Pakistan, you know. So he is always there in big matches. I personally, and others will disagree, because you want to set the tone throughout the team, I personally think Virat Kohli should bat like he's batted over the last decade. He's got a strike rate of 138. He can be the glue, the rot, you know, they all bat around him. They all come in playing their shots. You cannot doubt Kohli as a player. You cannot doubt him in a big match. He has suffered, as Athers said, that New York pitch, because he had a brilliant IPL. He was fantastic in that. So he came into the tournament in form, but he has suffered because of that New York pitch. Since then, every bit of footage from the Indian camp has been Kohli in the nets with Rahul Dravid, trying to get the rhythm of batting. He is a rhythm player. He's not like a Hardik Pandya, who is a power player. You just go out and power hit. Virat Kohli needs time in the middle, rhythm. He bats for 3-4 overs, that rhythm, that timing will come back. And at the end, under pressure, who will India want? At the end, in a big game, they will want Kohli. So I thought England would be really pleased watching him yesterday, looking so frenetic. I think Josh Buttler would have gone, we quite like this, as opposed to Kohli just showing his class.
Some of the pitches that have been played in this World Cup have been challenging for batters. It's not been the six fest that we saw during IPL. So Nasser's point there, a bit slightly out of rhythm. Could you say that about like the South African middle order? Because it's immensely powerful. Miller, Klassen being the headline act. They've not played on a good pitch, really, have they?
No, they haven't. And it's such an important thing, confidence and momentum in that middle order or the middle phase of the game, because you've got to be able to trust your swing. And if you can't play on a pitch where the bounce is consistent, you lose your swing in many ways just to hit through the line of the ball. And I think there are a lot of teams throughout this tournament that have fallen a victim to it. But again, the class nature of David Miller, Tristan Stubbs, even at the top of the order, Quinton de Kock, who's been in sublime form. They're going to try and go blow for blow with India. Given how India went about it in the semi-final, they have to go out and play like that, because if they don't, again, if Rohit Sharma goes out and sets the tone, embodies exactly how he wants his team to play, they could bat South Africa out of the game like they did England in the semi-final.
Odds on Bumrah being player of the match. He's been phenomenal.
Well, he's been the bowler of the tournament, really. He's not the top wicket taker, but every time he's got the ball in his hand, he's been incredibly hard to get away. I think his economy rate before the semi-final against England was 4.08, which in T20 is incredible. And, of course, the measure of the ease of India's victory was that they left an over in the tank of Bumrah yesterday. So as a chasing side, you almost fashion your run chase around Bumrah. They're going to keep him 2 overs till the back end. You can't afford to get too far behind the rate for the 17th and 19th overs that he bowls. He's a fantastic performer.
We saw how the South African nation went berserk when the women got to the T20 World Cup final in Cape Town. We were both there. It was an amazing day. If you speak to Natalie Jamalis and Kasnadu, 2 South African commentators that we've been working with, the nation is abuzz. What do you think it would mean for South Africa to finally get a trophy?
Listen, we forget what a great sporting nation they are. They have been. Think of the rugby. When they win the rugby, everyone there. You know, I think Graham Smith went home. He's flying back for the final. You know, they made some difficult decisions. They focused in on their franchise, the SA20, which looks an excellent franchise. They chose not to send players off to New Zealand for test match cricket. They took a gamble. They copped a lot of stick for that. prioritising white ball cricket. They've built a really good franchise. You look at that list and those names, and unfortunately, this clown has tipped them to win it, and they are unbeaten.
Blind squirrel, though. I mean, he's getting better than every single World
come
Cup.
on, India, please, just for one reason. So look, it would mean so much to them for what they've been through. It would mean a lot to them, but quietly, it means a lot to India as well.
OK, well, Morgs, myself and Athers, we're going to go and enjoy the sea. Nasser's going for a run in his son's shoes. We'll be down at Kensington tomorrow, 3 o'clock for the World Cup final, South Africa against India.